Hey everybody, it's Sia with Black Petal Gardening, and I am taking a quick break from work. It's the middle of the day, we're on a work week, or on a work day, so we're gonna pop into the garden really quick. And what we're gonna be talking about is the first item that we're gonna do for our fall seed sowing, which are beans. So we'll head over so you can see what I've done already, and we'll take a look at, the varieties that I've chosen. All right. Okay, so as you can see here, we have 4 pots currently, 1 pot for each variety that we've chosen. And the reason why I went this route is I wasn't quite sure whether I wanted to do any beans in the garden bed itself. Plus, I figured a container would be a little bit easier to keep track of and things like that. Now, in each of these containers, we did 6 holes around the edge, each one of them being 4 inches apart, and then one in the middle. And in each hole, I put 2 bean seeds. Now, typically I would do just 1 bean seed per hole, but I'd watched a couple to a few videos where they did 2. They did not thin them afterwards, and that seemed to go really well. And my ultimate goal is to have as many beans by the end of the available growing season, so that includes both, the summer and fall as possible. Now, why do I want to have so many? There's just, the joy of having fresh beans grilled on the grill for dinner, of course, and I want to have enough that we can, wash them up, snip off the ends, cut them into smaller pieces, and then put them on, a tray, put them in the freezer, and then once they're frozen, put them in a bag for longer storage. I don't like the idea of just dunking them all into a freezer bag and chucking them into the freezer, because then it just becomes a big glob of beans, and it makes it more difficult if you only want a few beans or a certain quantity, because you have to wait for it to thaw, and it's really annoying. But anyway, that's kind of beyond the point. The absolute biggest reason why I want to have so many beans is my grandpa has a recipe, and it's just a simple hot dill bean or dill bean recipe. And I'm not somebody who loves a ton of spice, but these are so addictive. Oh my gosh, they are so good. And I love pickles, so you've got the best of both worlds. And unfortunately, last year I wasn't able to make any of his recipe because we didn't plant enough beans for through the summer. And I did try to do a fall harvest in the green stock, but I think I started it a little bit too late, because by the time the beans had actually germinated and got to the point where they should be putting out flowers, the cold weather came through and decimated them. So unfortunately, I was not able to make anything. I also had a little trouble sourcing fresh dill at the time too. And even if everything had gone into an alignment, at least at the time that I was trying to do the recipe, I would have gotten maybe 2 jars. So I made the decision then that this year I want to make sure that I have plenty of beans. So let's take a look at the varieties that I've chosen to try and get to that goal. Okay, so the first one is Jade, and all of these are going to be bush beans. From what I understand, they shouldn't need any staking. They're also between 50 and I think 60 is the most days for germination and to get to maturity. So hopefully that gives us plenty of time to get where we need to go. So yeah, so this is a nice green bean. And the next one is also a green bean. This one is Provider, top there so you can see it. This one's only 50 days. It says it's supposed to be very prolific, which is great. The next is Contender. This one's also a 50-day. It's supposed to be really good and tender and easy to grow. So I'm all about easy to grow. And then last of the botanical interest seeds is this Royal Burgundy. This one's a 55-day, and they are purple, but once you cook them, they do turn green, which is sometimes a little disappointing. But they're supposed to be really good to grow even in containers. So of course, that's marvelous. Now, I do also have this one from Johnny Seeds, which is called Dulcina. No pretty pictures, so you can kind of see what they're like. These ones I have not yet put into any kind of pot, and that's the one where I'm debating whether I want to put them into a raised bed or follow my lead, these back here, and put them into just a container. We do have the first raised bed that we opened up. I think it's over here. When we did our harvest not too long ago, and there's a few things that I definitely want to do for the fall garden. We obviously have some things that are going to stick with us probably into late fall, so organizing what space we have is going to be interesting, and is also a concern for me to think about when trying to determine where do I want to put these beans. And again, that's also one of the reasons why I picked containers for the beans, because I wanted to maximize A, the space that I could grow in, and B, the space to put my fall garden in, because I don't necessarily want to do everything in the green stalks. We're probably going to need to harvest some of the stuff out of the green stalks, and certain things are going to be better suited for that than others. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm hoping that I can kind of finally settle on a decision on what to do with those Dulcina beans in the next week or so. I don't think it's a huge rush, because we should have plenty of time before our first frost state to get them in, but there's still a little bit of a deadline. It's got to be a little bit cognizant of that. But yeah, so that is the story of our beans and the journey that we're going to be going on. Now, if you have any experience with doing beans in containers, I would love to get your feedback, any hints or tricks or anything like that, because like I said, the closest I've gotten to container growing for beans was the green stalk. And if you've seen some of our previous videos, I didn't have great luck with some of the beans that we sowed. The bean and strawberry tiered green stalk went pretty well, but even with that, I had to do a second sowing of a number of the beans. The other two green stalks, it was a bust. None of the beans that I sowed did well, and that could either be attributed to temperature, because it was still fairly early in the year. I don't think it would have to do with moisture, because it was pretty rainy at the beginning, in the Marches and Aprils, though we did have a fair number of hot, dry days pretty early in the season. With that said, we are in summer. Temperature as far as heat is not going to be the concern. Keeping things watered and moist so that they can germinate, I'm trying to tackle that by watering at least once every day. Today I'll probably do it in the evening. I do want to make sure I don't let them get waterlogged though. So anyway, as I was saying, if you have some expertise or experience with this, please share with us so that we can have the best harvest possible. And as always, we would love for you to like the video, and of course subscribe, and maybe even share with a friend if you think that they would be interested in the content that we're putting out. So I need to get back to work because this is actually a break. So in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.